The bug type is by far the worst type in Pokemon. Knowing that, I somehow thought it'd be a good idea to attempt to beat Pokemon Black 2 using only bug types. This, in tandem with the hardcore Nuzlocke rule set, should ensure an extremely difficult run, and it means if any of my bug buddies faint, they'll be gone. Permanently. All that being said, I go ahead and use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to make my starter Swaddle. This little guy gets the nickname Silky, and sadly, his bug and grass typing means he's 4 times weak to our rival's first Pokemon, Tepig. Yeah, this is gonna be a really tough run. Thankfully, he doesn't know any fire type moves yet, but as soon as he learns a few, I'll be screwed. Pushing past him, I learn how to catch a Pokemon for the billionth time in my life and meet Alder, who's the fakest champion I've ever seen. Seriously, does this guy ever do anything? In Velocity Ranch, I get in another squabble with my rival, and this was a similar fight to last time as he still doesn't have any super effective moves. We traded tackles for bug bites until I could push further into the ranch where I found this Team Plasma member. He seems super angry with me, and honestly I couldn't tell you why, as Team Plasma has a great matchups into the bugs I use. On my way back to the first city, Alder has me destroy a few preschoolers, which was easier than expected considering one of them had a Pansear. Fire types are so terrifying. In an attempt to Aura Farm, Alder breaks both of his legs jumping off this cliff, so I steal a few Oran Berries from him and move towards the first gym. Sharon's the first gym leader, and he represents normal types as he leads the battle with Patrat. On the first turn, I go for a bug bite, and with this 60 base power stab move, I'm able to take Patrat a little below half. Afterwards, I tank a tackle that brings me down to 29 remaining, and with one more bug bite, I'm on to the final Pokemon Lillipup. Sharon's able to move before me, connecting with another tackle that took me down to 20. With a bug bite, Lillipup's at half, and with one more, I've won my first gym badge. After the battle, I witnessed Sharon hit my rival with the most successful rage bait I've ever seen, then Bianca gives me the TM for return, which will become useful later. On my way to Verbank City, I go through Route 20, and this place has a lot of different Pokemon on it, the most important of which is Venipede. I know that technically Swaddle and Venipede are both found here, but I'm gonna count the Dark Blue Grass as a different area because I can. Also, I'm pretty sure the run is nearly impossible without it, as this upcoming Poison Gym is gonna give me a lot of issues. For starters, Roxy and her foul mouth have an illegal Whirlipede, and on top of that, Poison is super effective against my Swaddle. Still, after gathering some XP fighting Audino's, I figure out my strategy, and that's just roll out. By leading with Venipede, I can start with a defense curl against Roxy's Coughing. This will end up making my rollout stronger, but unfortunately, I ended up missing my second one and was forced to eat a few tackles. Hopefully, that's all the bad luck I get, as after I'm brought down to 17 HP, I finish off the Coughing, and I'm on to the final Pokemon Whirlipede. Since my rollouts have been continually getting stronger, so long as I hit this one, I should be able to OHKO, and thankfully, I end up landing it. It got a crit, which was a little overkill, but hey, I earned my second badge, so who am I to complain? With the gym battle finished up, I head into Pokestar Studios, where I see a whole bunch of people dressed up as these little geckos. I then watch this terrible movie that put this whole crowd to sleep, and make a terrible movie that'll probably do the same thing. Before leaving Verbank, I have another run-in with Team Plasma, but this time I actually fight them. They've currently only got Padrats and Purloins, but as we progress, we'll have to fight Colress, who's got a full team of Steel types, and that's terrifying. As soon as I head into Castelia, I go to play in the sewers, because why wouldn't I? My rival's already here, and apparently, so is more of Team Plasma. We get rid of them as soon as we can, and this is where I meet Berg, as well as the bane of my existence. The Castelia sewers have a handful of useful items for me, the most important of which is this hard stone that increases the damage of my rock type moves. I give it to Venipede, and as we roll through the competition, he evolves into a Whirlipede. Same thing happens with Swaddle into Swadloon, and with her friendship high enough, she immediately evolves into Leavanny. These are some truly welcomed improvements to my team, as I'll need them pretty much immediately as I go to fight Berg for my third gym badge. He's a fellow bug trainer and leads with his Swadloon as I send in Whirlipede. After taking a look at Swadloon's moveset, I realize he can't do too much damage, so I set up some iron defenses at the start of the fight. Having set up 2 of those, I get hit by a Struggle Bug that only does 3 HP, and then I go for a way more effective move in Poison Tail. This does a little below half, so I have to go for 2 more to bring out the next Pokemon Dwebble. Dwebble has Smackdown, which is super effective, though thanks to the iron defenses I set up, I'm not taking too much damage. With my Heartstone equipped, my rollouts have a little extra oomph to them, so it only takes 3 to finish off Dwebble and bring out the final Pokemon Leavanny. With 24 HP, Leavanny hits me with a cut that doesn't do much of anything. I then connect with Rollout, and that earns me my third badge. On my way to Route 4, I spot the terrifying Colress, and once I make it there, I'm forced to fight him. Currently, he's only got 2 Pokemon that are first stages, but even that almost proved to be too much for my Leavanny. With 7 HP, I survived by the skin of my teeth and continued further on the route where I found the TM for Dig. This could end up helping a lot with the next gym, especially if I use it on my Dwebble, who I found in the Desert Resort. I gave him the name Garden, and if you end up finding out what the nickname theme is, leave it in the comments down below, as as this one is pretty tricky. Also, while you're down there, comment down below whether or not you'd be down to do a members only Kawamon server. I've been thinking about doing it for a while, but I just don't know how many people would want to join. Regardless, this Dwebble has an adamant nature, which is insanely good, as my attack stat is the only thing I care about. After all that, I finally get into Nimbasa City, where I start to prepare myself for the 4th gym leader. This preparation involved a few things that weren't really Pokemon related. I ended up interrupting this couple's date because nobody gets a girlfriend on my watch. And I also wanted to make sure I was brave enough to even challenge Elisa, so I went on this Ferris wheel that was really scary. Still in my wet pants, I evolved my Whirlipede into Scolipede, then head all the way back to Castelia City. I was searching for some useful items back in Relic Passage, but unfortunately, the only thing you can find here are shards, and I don't need those at all. So admittedly, a little unprepared, I go ahead and challenge Elisa for my 4th badge. Emolga's her lead as I bring out Dwebble and start by going for a Rock Slide that unfortunately doesn't connect as she went for a Volt Switch. Falafi takes the damage, bringing her down to half, and with one more Rock Slide, I can secure my first KO. This brings Emolga back in, and since I know she's probably gonna go for a Volt Switch, I swap out into Silky. I was right as I was brought down to 76, sitting in front of the ace, Zebstrika. She's got quad effective Flame Charge, but I know from a previous run of mine that I can actually survive this so long as I don't get crit. Flame Charge leaves me with 8 HP as I then go for a Bug Bite that steals her Citrus Berry and brings her just within healing range. After getting some additional damage with Return, I'm forced to swap into Scolipede. A super effective Flame Charge doesn't do too much, and with 2 Poison Tails, I can move on to the final Pokemon Emolga. This pesky rodent has been all over the place throughout this fight, but I can finally take her down by swapping into my Leavanny. With that badge under my belt, I move further in the game towards Lost Lorn Forest. Technically, I could have already come here and caught a Pokemon that would have been really helpful in my last gym battle, but potato. In this place, I find a Heracross that I catch and nickname Carpenter. She's got an amazing nature and ability, and with her fighting typing, she could potentially be an answer for Colress. I test my improved team on this batch of unsuspecting Team Plasma members, and it goes really well. For a more accurate test of strength, I fight the Heartbreaker Charles in a rotation battle, but maybe I should steal his name, as I end up beating him and breaking his heart. I guess. I didn't really know where I was going with that. Regardless, after crossing the Driftvale drawbridge, I make it to the location of my next gym. Before I fight it, I talk to the old members of Team Plasma about the new ones, and I guess they don't like each other for some reason. I don't know what I'm doing here. All I know is that Clay's got an Excadrill and could be extremely difficult if I don't take some precautions. Using those random shards I found earlier, I taught my Leavanny the move Seed Bomb. I ended up using the move Tutor a few times throughout this run, but this was probably my most useful, as when Clay sent out Krokorok, I could immediately send in Silky. Even though my attack stat was just lowered by Intimidate, I was still able to one-shot thanks to Krokorok's pretty bad defenses. The same can't be said for the ace Pokemon Excadrill, as he's next, and I start with a Seed Bomb that does a little less than half. Following that, I get hit by a Bulldoze that lowers my speed, and this allows Excadrill to move before me, connecting with a Rock Slide on the next turn. At 26, I go for a Bug Bite to steal the Citrus Berry off him, then I'm put in a pretty bad situation. Since I'm no longer faster and can't survive another Rock Slide, I'm forced to switch out into Scolipede. Thankfully, I don't get crit on the switch in, and since Scolipede is way faster than you'd expect them to be, I can freely get off a dig. This deals with the rest of his HP and leads me on to the final Pokemon Sandslash. He's incredibly slow and not that powerful, so even after getting healed by a Hyper Potion and hitting me with a critical hit, I was still able to take him down. Upon leaving the gym, I head to the grass on Route 6 where I find this Shelmet. I give her the name Pavement, and I can't really evolve her because there's no Carablast to trade with, but still, she should have some niche use later on in the game. Following that, I go to the Driftvale tournament where I can stock up on some battle points and fight a few people I really don't want to. The main person I'm referring to is Colress, though his team isn't much of a problem as they're only level 25. As soon as I'm crowned the winner of that, I witness Team Plasma run off towards their boat, and of course I chase them because why wouldn't the 16-year-old go to save the world? I'm not gonna lie, this was a big mistake. They are jumping us. As I attempted to take them down, my Dwebble evolved into a Crustle, and this will be a super important evolution for later. As I prepare to leave Driftvale, I remembered there's a Pokemon lurking within Relic Passage. This is the super powerful Volcarona, but I'm not gonna catch it just yet. For starters, my team is barely even capable of surviving a battle with her, and on top of that, she doesn't even have a good moveset for me. By level up, Volcarona doesn't really learn anything that's useful, so the only way I can teach her stuff that is through the move tutor or TMs. This is stuff I can't access until later in the game anyways, so I figured I might as well wait. That being said, we can still get access to a new team member in Chargestone Cave, being Joltik. With the ability combat compound eyes, a neutral nature, and the nickname Crazy, this guy's gonna be an amazing addition to the team. The nickname really doesn't have anything to do with that, but it's still cool. Getting him to level 36 means I have a Galvantula for the upcoming Flying Jam. 2 super effective Pokemon should go a long way against a typing that normally would counter me pretty hard. Before fighting Skyla, I go ahead and get the TM for X-Scissor, and I figure out how I want this battle to play out. In the end, I decided to lead with Galvantula and started by going for an Electro Ball that brought Swoobat down into the red. Truthfully, Skyla was just extremely lucky I got such a low damage roll, but that luck didn't last for too long as after a Hyper Potion, I was able to OHKO with my next Electro Ball. This led to the Ace Swanna, who's quad weak to electric moves, so you can already guess what happened. Last out was Skarmory, who went down to a simple pair of attacks, and with that, I won myself a shockingly easy 6th badge. The next major stop on our journey is in Opelucid City, which is honestly really far away. To make the journey a bit quicker, I go ahead and steal Skyla's plane and bring it to Reversal Mountain. There's a few Pokemon I could have caught here, but their evolutions aren't bug types, so there's really no point. As I head through the mountain, I'm forced to go through some pretty difficult double battles, though Crustle is good at dealing with most of them, so I didn't have too much issue. Eventually, I found myself in Undella Town where I got a call from Yancy, who lets me know that she's a girl. I don't know how to talk to girls. I hung up the phone as quickly as possible, got this wide lens and put it on my Crustle as I'll need it for my upcoming rival battle. To start, I went for a Shell Smash, and this is the reason why Crustle is such a good Pokemon, as I can immediately raise my attack and speed by 2 stages. Sure, it lowers my defenses, but with my ability Sturdy, it's not really that much of a problem. My rival found that out the hard way as I set up just one and swept his entire team. After hearing this big time yap sesh in the next town over, I fight some Team Plasma members that are just lingering. One of these members is Zinzalin, who's an ice type trainer that normally gives me some issues. In this run, I don't have to worry about him much as Crustle is an amazing counter to his entire team. I push forward, bruising this old man's ego, and watch Virizion jump off a cliff. This is kind of like how Alder did it at the beginning of the game, but it didn't actually break its legs. At this point, I can finally head into Opelucid City, and this is the location of my 7th gym badge. Before facing Drayden, I come up with a solid plan that kind of revolves around Shelmet. Drayden leads with Druddigon, who starts with a crunch as I go for a yawn to hopefully put him to sleep. With him about to pass out, I send in Crustle, who gets hit by a critical hit right away. With that, it's sweet dreams for Druddigon as I go for a Shell Smash, hoping to KO with an X-Scissor in the next turn. Sadly, Druddigon survived with a Sliver, but the silver lining is that he remained asleep, so when Drayden tried to heal, I set up a second Shell Smash. At +4, there was no way he'd get that lucky again, so I was able to take care of him in the next Pokemon Flygon. This means last is the Ace Haxorus, but with just a single X-Scissor, I was able to finish him off with ease. Following my victory, Drayden invites me over to his house, and this is where we hear a massive boom come from outside. That was only the first of many, as Team Plasma shot down giant spikes of ice all over the city. The property value has to be absolutely tanking in this place. That's not important right now. To save the day, I, the 16-year-old, have to hold on to these DNA splicers as if my life depends on it. Don't worry, Drayden, I won't let anyone get to these. Oh shoot, those guys just stole them off me? Ah, whatever, let's go to the beach. Humalao City is the location of my final gym, and for it, I decided to use a little bit of a different strategy. I led with Shelmet and started with a Giga Drain that ended up doing about 2/3. Because of my ability Shell Armor, I don't have to worry about crits, so I can safely tank a Smackdown. This means with another Giga Drain, I can move on to the second Pokemon Wailord. I know he's likely gonna see Bounce as his only option, so I switch into my Electric type Galvantula. This makes that flying move neutral and also allows me to set up an Agility while he's in the air. Normally, Agility wouldn't do too much as I'm already faster, but thanks to the move Electro Ball, I can actually do even more damage. This means just one is able to take the KO and bring out the final Pokemon, Jellicent. To be honest, I thought this would be another one-shot, but Jellicent actually ended up living with about 1/3 and connected with a Scald that brought me down into the red. That was way too close for comfort, so I sent out my Leavanny to finish him off with Leaf Blade. With my final badge in hand, I can start to prepare for some really rough battles against Team Plasma. To get there, I've got to use the TM for Surf, and this guy makes fun of me for not having a Pokemon who can use it. Joke's on him, I've got an illegal Genesect that can do just that. After this stupid nerd Colress and his dumb outfit tell me where Team Plasma is, I go ahead and fight them. Took a bit to squeeze through their ranks, but eventually I did and found myself fighting Zinzalin again. Thankfully it was with my rival, as his fire type was able to melt any concerns I had in the battle. We get kicked off the ship for the second time in the run so far, and this is where I head over to the giant chasm, as that's where Getsis is. Before I can fight him and Colress, I've got to guess at this passcode about 1 billion times, and eventually I get lucky. Sadly, this just means I've got to go battle against Colress and his steel types. His lead Pokemon is Magneton, who has Sturdy, so I can't hope to one-shot it. Instead, I go for a Bulldoze that's 4 times super effective, but only brings it down to about 1/3. It then paralyzes me with a Thunder Wave, so now he moves before me and swaps out with Volt Switch into Magnezone. After a single Bulldoze, he's brought into healing range, but unfortunately I can't hit him with another as I get fully paralyzed. Since Colress healed with the full restore, I'm forced to swap into Galvantula, who's really not able to do much of anything. Eventually, I was forced to swap back out, this time into Heracross, as Magnezone went for an explosion. This took him down and thankfully didn't do too much damage to the Heracross I just brought in. Still, when Behem was sent in, I swapped into my Leavanny and went for an X-Scissor to take him down. That led into Metang, who's another Pokemon that's really difficult to deal with. By swapping into Crustle, I got hit by a Meteor Mash that was super effective, though I was also able to get off an X-Scissor that did a little over half. Unfortunately, I've got to risk another crit in this fight by swapping into my Heracross. It didn't take me out, so I was able to go for a Mega Horn that took down Metang and brought out the second to last Pokemon, Klinklang. Thankfully, I was able to outspeed and one-shot him in the following Pokemon, Magneton, and that ended up winning me the battle. Not easy in the slightest, though we were able to get through it deathless, so who am I to complain? Hopefully, we can say the same in the next big battle against Black Kyurem and Ghetsis. After threatening to legitimately take me out, I get into a fight with Black Kyurem, and my only saving grace here is that Kyurem is part ice. This is a similar situation as it was to Zinzalin, as my Crustle being super effective is huge in this battle. Thanks to only 2 Rock Slides, I was able to move on to the main threat, Ghetsis. He led the battle with his Cofagrigus, who loves to set up Toxic, so I brought in my Crustle, who's equipped with a Pecha Berry. Initially, I set up a Shell Smash as he missed a Toxic, and on the next turn, he decided to go for Protect for whatever reason, as I went for another Shell Smash. Third turn, he finally connected with something, but I just healed it with a Pecha Berry. At this point in the fight, my Crustle is at +6 attack and +6 speed, which means there's nothing on Ghetsis' team that even stands a chance. Cofagrigus, Seismitoad, Hydreigon, Drapion, Electros, and finally Toxicroak all went down to one-shots. With Team Plasma defeated, it's safe to say Ghetsis isn't taking it well, as he said to his own son, "Don't talk like a person, you freak." Ouch, that's gotta hurt. All that familial drama aside, it's time for me to challenge the Pokemon League, and this place has a ton of terrible matchups for me. Chantal, Marshall, and Iris are all gonna be extremely hard for me to deal with. That being said, before I can worry about them, I've got one more key battle with my rival. The way I went through it was really simple, as I put a Persim Berry on my Scolipede, so when Unpheasant used the move Swagger, he raised my attack by 2 stages, but didn't actually confuse me. This allowed my Scolipede to get to a really high attack stat and eventually take out Loser's entire team, but unfortunately, this did come at a price. On the last Pokemon, my Scolipede ended up going over the level cap of 58. Since we haven't started the Elite Four yet, this is considered a hard level cap, so I can't actually bring them into the final battles of the game. We can still round out our team to 6 members by going back to Relic Passage and catching that Volcarona I spoke about earlier. I gave her the name Fire, and this is probably the most helpful hint for the nickname theme. With the TM for Flamethrower and a few stops at the Move Tutor, I'm hoping she can be the powerhouse that we're missing with Scolipede gone. All that being said, I spent some time getting my team prepared for the rough set of matches ahead. With my movesets revamped and my team up to the level cap, I burned my Heracross to ensure my Guts ability is active, then head into the Elite Four. Scanning around for my easiest matchup, I elect to fight Caitlyn first, as I've got a pretty good strategy for her. She led the battle with Musharna, as I sent in Pavement, my Shellmet. Caitlyn's Musharna loves to put you to sleep, so instead of falling for that trap, I go for a Struggle Bug to lower her special attack stat. This doesn't directly help with sleeping, as I still got hit by Yawn on that same turn, but hold on, let me cook. Yawn takes 2 turns to activate, so I'm guaranteed at least 1 more before passing out. Using it, I go for a Yawn of my own, and now that I'm asleep, Musharna is guaranteed to go for a Dream Eater on the next turn. I can completely avoid that damage by swapping into Leavanny, and I watch as Musharna falls asleep right in front of me. Now, with a single Sword Stance, I can start to dispatch Caitlyn's entire team. X-Scissor Oko's Musharna, Sigilif, Reniculus, and the final Pokemon Gothitelle. That's my first Elite Four member defeated, and I didn't even take any damage, so this must be a good sign of things to come, right? Wrong, but that's a story for later as I go into my second easiest matchup against Grimsley, as my bug types are super effective. He starts with Liepard, who has Aerial Ace, which is really effective against most of my team, so I send out Galvantula to counter it. Not only do I resist that, but after a Fake Out, I can outspeed and go for a Signal Beam that takes the one-shot. Next out is Scrafty, who is really tanky and survives a Thunderbolt at about half. That led to a connection with Rock Tomb that brought me down to 63 HP and lowered my speed. On the following turn, I go for a Volt Switch to bring out Leavanny, me to KO with an X Scissor. All that brings out the ace Pokemon Bisharp, who also has access to Aerial Ace. My Volcarona can survive at least one barring a crit, so I swap her in and she lives at 67. With that, I can go for a Flamethrower and Silverwind combo to take out both of Grimsley's final Pokemon. Now it's time for a pretty tough matchup into the third Elite Four member, Chantal. She reps Ghost types and leads with her Cofagrigus as I send out Volcarona. Cofagrigus really only has Will-O-Wisp and Shadow Ball, and since she can't hit me for any meaningful damage, I'm able to take her down with 2 Flamethrowers. Next is the ace Pokemon Chandelure, who is a major problem. With 110 base power Fire Blast, there isn't a single Pokemon on my team that can survive, so I send out my Shelmet as a sacrifice. This was to get a free switch in a Crustle, who's got the ability Sturdy and a Raspberry, so even if I get burned, I'll still live on 1 HP. After setting up a Shell Smash, my attack and speed move to +2, so I can outspeed Chandelure in the next turn and KO with a Rock Slide. When Golurk sent in, I can no longer stay in, so I bring up my Leavanny to tank a not very effective Earthquake. Following that, a Leaf Blade brings me on to the final Pokemon, Drifbloom. Sadly, she's got Acrobatics, which means anything I send in is about to take some massive damage. Sending in Galvantula, I can only hope a Thunderbolt will kill, and it doesn't, leaving Drifbloom with a sliver as I get taken down by Shadow Ball. Sending out Volcarona, I finish her off, but this leaves me with 2 less Pokemon going into my hardest fights of the game. I have no idea how we're gonna win this thing, but I'm gonna try as we're in for another hard battle against Marshall and his fighting types. He leads the battle with Throw as I send out Crustle and start by going for a Shell Smash. Throw then goes for a Rock Tomb, missing as I follow up with a return that deals about 2/3. In hindsight, I probably should have just set up again, but instead I went for a return to finish off the throw after getting hit by a Bulldoze. Still, the next Pokemon is Conkeldurr, where I go for another return and he heals with a Citrus Berry. Sadly, my ability Sturdy is no longer active, so when I eat a Stone Edge, I unfortunately get taken down. Pretty sure I could have easily avoided this with a second Shell Smash, but you live and you learn, and with a free switch, I move into Heracross. He's able to KO Conkeldurr after a pair of Aerial Aces, and the same happens with the following Pokemon, Mienshao. Last is Sawk, who also has the ability Sturdy, and I was pretty okay with Heracross fainting here, but instead, Sawk ended up missing a Rock Slide, so I was able to take him down. With 3 Pokemon remaining, I get ready to challenge Iris, but before I do, I use my final rare candy on Volcarona to get her up to the level cap of 59. Doing so has me learn the move Quiver Dance, and honestly, this is the only chance I have at beating the champion. Iris's lead Pokemon is Hydreigon, who's got an extremely high special attack stats, so the only hope of me surviving is raising my special defense. Quiver Dance does exactly that, and on top of it, I can raise my speed and special attack stat. The only thing I can do is hope for no crits, as I have to set up 4 consecutive Quiver Dances. After my first 2, my Citrus Berry activates, allowing me to survive 2 more serves. Eventually, I was brought down to 21 HP, and thankfully didn't get hit by any crits, so I could take down the Hydreigon with a Silver Wind. We were able to OHKO Iris's entire team until we got to the last Pokemon, Haxorus. She's equipped with a Focus Sash, so she lives the initial Silver Wind, but instead of going for an attacking move, she elects to go for Dragon Dance. This was a big mistake, as my speed is so high, there's just no way she can move before me. Following that, a pair of Flamethrowers takes her down, and with that, I'm crowned the champion of Unova. Thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and let me know what you guys think about the Cobblemon server. I just kinda wanna make sure people are gonna join. That being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.